There is an old and still ongoing discussion that occurs quite often in the tabletop role playing community. This debate occurs between those who are focused more on the narrative aspects of these games versus those who are more focused on the mechanical aspects of these games. On one side, you have players who get really into optimization, mechanical mastery, power gaming, character builds, and such. These players are often called Munchkins. The other extreme are the theater kids. These are the players that write a 12-page backstory for a level 1 character and commission character art before the very first session. I like to call these players Thespians. When these players run into each other, it often leads to arguments about the right way to play the game, with both the Munchkins and the Thespians accusing the other of not playing the game correctly. Munchkins are often told that they are more concerned with making numbers go higher and winning the game than engaging in actual role playing. After all, these are tabletop role playing games, not video games. The thing is, to a Munchkin, this accusation makes no sense. To them, the accusation that they are too concerned with mastering the rules of the game is like telling a chess master they are in the wrong for being good at chess. It sounds like complete nonsense. The Munchkin might then turn around and ask the Thespian why they are even playing a tabletop role playing game if they aren't going to engage with the rules of the game. After all, these are games, not acting in an improv theater group. The Thespian might then counter with the accusation that players should be more focused on making interesting characters with fleshed out personalities instead of super optimized murder machines. After all, they are supposed to be engaging in role playing, not dungeon raids in an MMO. But the Thespian is making a few fundamental mistakes. Their first mistake is assuming that making a powerful character means that you can't also engage in role playing. After all, even MMOs have roleplay servers for people engaged in the very type of roleplay that Thespians enjoy. Their second mistake is not realizing that a good character build can go, in my opinion, should go hand in hand with good role playing. To make my point, let's engage in an exercise and imagine that you are trying to make a new character. Let's say you want to make a traumatized swordmaster with a dark past. It would make sense for that character to be good at fighting with a sword, but if the character is mechanically bad at sword fighting, then there is a disconnect with what the character's role-playing concept is and how they mechanically perform. Or what if you want to make an academic wizard? It would make sense for the character to not just be good with magic, but to also have a high intelligence, and to be skilled when it comes to academic knowledge and other book smart categories. Or how about you want to make a dashing rogue? It makes sense for the character to have high agility, charisma, and to have bonuses to multiple social skills. In each of these cases, the optimization of the character is not a detriment to good role-playing, just the opposite. The mechanical optimization of the character is in support of the roleplay. Intentionally making the wizard have low intelligence, the pirate have low agility, or the swordmaster have low strength makes little narrative sense. However, giving the wizard a high intelligence, the swordmaster high strength, and the rogue have high agility makes sense for the narrative idea of the character. In short, the mechanics should be in support of and strengthen the role play. Now I know I've been harsh on the Thespians, but let's not forget that many of the criticisms people have of Munchkins do exist. Many of them do have a win at any cost mentality. Some of them even have a player versus game master mentality. Many of them do care only about making numbers go higher. Many of them don't actually think about their characters as individuals in a story, as real breathing characters who live in a world. Rather, many of them simply think of their character as little more than an avatar for playing a game. In truth, there isn't anything inherently wrong with either extreme, but that is the thing one needs to realize. The Munchkin and Thespians are extremes. Thus, problems tend to occur when these two extremes clash and not everyone is on the same page. If you are in a group full of nothing but thespian theater kids who don't care at all about game mechanics or such, that is fine. The important thing is that everyone is having fun. If you are in a group of murder hobo power gaming munchkins, that again is fine, as long as everyone is having fun and on the same page. The problem is when you are the odd man out. If you're the only thespian in a group of munchkins, then your character is probably going to be the weak link and you are going to die. A lot. In the other extreme, if you're the only munchkin in a group of thespians, then not only are you probably going to be very bored, but you are probably going to annoy everyone else in the group. But it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, being the odd one out could allow you to fill a role that nobody else is filling. Let's imagine that you are the only thespian in a group of munchkins. Since it is likely that nobody else is that interested in extensive role-playing, that very likely leaves the role of party face open. You could be the party diplomat, sweet-talking nobility, interrogating bandits, and gathering information at the local tavern. But let's imagine the other extreme, that of you being the only munchkin in a party of thespians. Your job could then be to do everything in your power to keep everyone else alive. Maybe you will make the most unkillable tank and take all the blows so that the rest of the party doesn't die. Or maybe you make the most broken healer possible and keep everyone else on their feet. Or you could do my personal favorite, play the God Wizard and be the force multiplier to lead your team to victory. Because that is the thing to always remember. Tabletop role-playing games are team games, unless you're playing solo tabletop RPGs, but that is a whole different discussion. That said, the thespian who's trying to be the party face needs to make sure that their character is actually mechanically capable of doing what they are trying to do. Makes no sense, narratively or mechanically, for the party face to not have bonuses to multiple social skills and a high relevant stat. As for the Munchkin, they need to remember that while combat can be your time to shine, outside of combat you need to not step on the toes of the Thespians. If they're having a role-play scene where they are engaging in court intrigue or something, don't start a riot just because you get bored. Wait until they ask you to start a riot. There is one last point I would like to make. The point being that while groups tend to lean one way or the other, these are not binary 0-1 categories. It is a spectrum. Because it is a spectrum, my advice for all players is that they need to learn to switch it up some. The Munchkins among us should get better at getting into the improv acting parts of role-playing, and the Thespians should try to get a little better at learning the mechanics of the game. But what do I know? Feel free to leave your thoughts down below in the comments, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Until then, this has been HJ, signing off.